People's Democratic Party, PDP, has criticized the Senate President Godswill Akpabio over the National Assembly's move to stop Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan from returning to the Senate after the expiration of her 6-month suspension. Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan, who was suspended on March the 6th, had on September the 4th, 2025, reaching to the leadership of the Assembly, notifying them of her plan to resume. However, in a reply signed by the acting clerk to the National Assembly, Dr. Yahaya Danzaria, she was informed that her suspension was still active and tied to a pending case at the Court of Appeal. But the response does not sit well with the Senator's party, the PDP, which has now accused the Senate President and the APC-led Senate leadership of attempts to stop Akpoti-Uduaghan from returning to the Senate after serving a 6-month suspension, while also denying the people of Kogi Central Senatorial District a proper representation at the Senate. The Senate is slated to resume from a 2-month recess on September the 23rd. Abba Hikima is a constitutional lawyer, and he joins me now to put this development in proper perspective. Thank you for being here tonight. The Senate does not hold the opinion that Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan has served out her 6-month suspension, despite the fact that it expired on September the 6th. They say the matter is sub judice. Is that right?
Well, I think, permit me by saying that I think the Nigerian Senate is making a mockery of Nigeria's judicial system and Nigeria's rule of law. We're in a democracy, and in democracy, and especially a nascent one, like the one we have in Nigeria, I think that the democracy should be pitied and should be respected also. It was clear before now that this Senator Natasha was suspended for 6 months. Before expiration of this 6 months, she went to a court of law, a federal high court for that matter, which set aside the suspension and voided her suspension, and also directed that she should be returned. She should be allowed to, resume her duty, and that her constituents be represented. This right was denied by the Senate. And then
Mr. Hikima, I think that there are. I needed to clarify something here, because I seem to have conflicting opinion on the court judgment earlier that apparently seemed to have cleared Natasha to resume her seat. One of the arguments is that the court did not order the Senate; it only asked it to review its rule and the suspension given. So it wasn't like this was an order of the court. Please, could you explain that?
You know, this is not supposed to be an issue that we should be discussing even here, because before now, various members of the House of Reps or the Senate or at state level have been suspended by their respective houses, and they have gone to court before now, and courts have given opinion to the effect that it is unconstitutional, illegal, and unlawful for any lawmaker to be suspended in a representative democracy like the one we practice in Nigeria. And this is also the spirit of the ruling of the court in this case, as I understand it, because it's not something new. Now, but let's not even dilly-dally so much on that. Now that the 6-month suspension has elapsed, Natasha is supposed to resume her work back in the Senate. Now, claiming that the matter is still sub judice, I think, is a way of flouting Nigeria's constitution and also of misrepresenting the law. The law is clear that where a matter is sub judice, it does not necessarily mean that we cannot, for example, the matter is sub judice right now, we're talking about it. We cannot go into the substance of the matter, we can discuss it, we can take actions about it. That can be done because the injury was done by the Senate in the first place. So if the Senate likes, they can just withdraw everything, the lawsuits can be withdrawn also, and she resumes back. So this has not been done. So I think citing the sub judice rule, which is very much tried in our Nigeria's constitutional law and jurisprudence, is only a way of hiding behind that rule to continue to break the law. More so that I think they also cited section 40 of the Senate rules. That particular section is not saying that she cannot be reinstated when a case is pending before the court. Section 40 of the Senate rules is only talking about the fact that an issue cannot be discussed when that issue is sub judice. We're not talking about discussing this issue right now. We're talking about doing the right thing. We're talking about obeying the Constitution. I will give you an example. Section 68 of the Constitution of Nigeria is clear that a senator or a lawmaker can only be suspended on 3 grounds: where he resigns, where he is convicted of an offense, or where he defects from one party to another. You can't find any of these instances here. And so it is clear, and all the legal minds are in agreement that Natasha's suspension is wrong. And I think the Nigerian Senate, as an arm of the government, and as lawmakers for that matter, they should recall her and uphold the rule of law and prove to the international community, the national, Nigerians.
Well, they don't seem to be very influenced with the international community's opinion at this point. If we're going with the response they've given to Natasha's request to return to the Senate. But then you have the People's Democratic Party, her party, coming out strong, saying that she should prepare to get back to office, and that they are also saying that this is something being done against women, an attack on women's rights as it were. What are her options at this time, as well as her party, with the Senate writing back to say she will not, she's not allowed in until the case is properly litigated?
You see, Nigeria's constitution has given the heads of these legislative houses so much power. I will give you some examples. If a lawmaker dies, for example, only the Senate President, if he's a senator, or a speaker, can declare his seat vacant. And even where there's a court judgment reinstating a certain person back in the House, or maybe upholding the election of another person who is not the one holding the position at the material time, it takes, the declaration of the head of the House, in this case, the Senate President, for example, to reinstate that person. So the Senate rules and the Nigerian Constitution has given so much power to the heads of these legislative houses, and I think this is also a juncture in our jurisprudence that should be revisited. I think, for example, in this case, Natasha is the one having squabbles with the Senate President, and then being the one given so much power to decide whether she comes back or not, I think is a very serious aberration and has pointed out a certain lacuna in our constitutionalism, which should be revisited and amended as soon as possible.
I mean, those visuals were from the last time she made an attempt to get to the National Assembly. Let's also take on this part. Some have even argued that the Senate acted improperly by suspending Senator Natasha while her case was still before the court. Isn't this then a case of double standard if you are citing the same courts now?
That is exactly it. You cannot pick and choose, when to obey the court. Again, I will cite a constitutional provision. Our constitution is clear, and that's why I've been saying that Nigeria has some of the best laws in the world. The problem is that we don't implement these laws. Section 6, for example, is clear that, judicial powers of our courts are binding on all persons and authorities. The Senate, Nigerian Senate, is an authority. It is the court's previous decisions, assuming the court in this case does not even order that Natasha should be reinstated, the previous decisions are binding. They should be respected. It doesn't take anyone, any lawyer, for example, to even interpret these decisions to the Nigerian Senate. These are tried provisions that have been tried for more than 10 years in this country, and the courts have been very consistent. Why do we have to go to court every time an issue comes up that has been dealt with, before now? So I think that's what judicial precedents are. So they can't pick and choose. They are duty bound to show that Nigerians, that as lawmakers, they are also obedient to the law. They are responsible people, and this is only when we can have a democracy and we can call them leaders. And also when they can expect the common man on the street to actually obey the law, which these people sit in the chambers to legislate for.
Mr. Hikima, I guess it's now a waiting game to see what happens when Senate resumes on the 23rd, and of course, if Natasha will attempt again to get into the premises and what comes after that. Thank you very much for speaking with us.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.